She walked toward her first-class seat, confident, prepared, but the flight crew stopped her. Her boarding pass said 2A, yet they insisted she go to the back. A normal flight, a simple seat assignment. But what happened next froze everyone on the plane. 2 uniformed officers stepped forward, and what they did will leave you speechless. You will not believe. The moment when even the captain froze in shock. Watch until the end to see how one woman's quiet. Authority turned an entire flight upside down. Do not scroll. Away, this is a story you have to see to believe. The boarding gate buzzed with chatter and the steady hum of rolling suitcases. The woman's heels clicked against the polished floor as she approached the jet bridge. Her boarding pass gleamed in her hand. First class. Seat 2A. She had worked late into the night, preparing briefs and reviewing evidence, yet her posture was proud, commanding. But the flight attendant's eyes narrowed. The smile faded. "Ma'am, this seat is not available." The words sliced through the air like a sudden draft. The woman frowned. Passengers behind her grew restless, shifting, sighing, their murmurs spreading like ripples on water. She spoke calmly, yet her voice carried steel. "This is my assigned seat." The attendant stiffened, insisting she move to the back. Her throat tightened, heat crawling up her neck. The scent of stale coffee lingered in the air. The low roar of the aircraft engines pressed against her ears. Every detail seemed sharper than it should have been. She refused to back down. The standoff stretched, thick with tension. Finally, the captain appeared. He gestured to security. 2 uniformed officers stepped forward, boots striking the floor in rhythm. The cabin grew silent. Every eye followed. The woman did not flinch. Her pulse hammered, yet her gaze held steady. The officer stopped in front of her. For a heartbeat, no one breathed. Then, without hesitation, the officers snapped their hands to their brows in a crisp salute. The attendants froze. The captain's jaw slackened. Whispers exploded through the cabin. The woman lowered her boarding pass, her voice even, controlled. "I am Judge Monroe. Federal court." The silence was absolute, and in that silence, every denial, every doubt, turned heavy, like a storm about to break. Gasps rippled through the cabin. Some passengers leaned into the aisle, craning to see. Others sank back wide-eyed, clutching their armrests. The flight attendant who had blocked her now stood frozen, lips trembling, the color draining from her face. Judge Monroe's eyes moved slowly across the crew, sharp and unblinking. The air felt heavier, pressing down, thick with unease. Even the hum of the engine seemed quieter, as though the plane itself listened. The officers did not lower their salute. They waited. The captain swallowed hard, his Adam's apple rising and falling like a trapped stone. He cleared his throat, but the words faltered. Passengers exchanged uneasy glances. A phone camera's tiny red light blinked from row 3, recording every moment. Judge Monroe's voice finally broke the silence. Low, firm, unshakable. "You attempted to deny me the seat I lawfully purchased." Her words carried weight, deliberate and cold, each syllable echoing like a gavel strike. The crew shifted, uncomfortable, the reality of the moment sinking in. The attendant stammered, We did not realize," but her excuse cracked in the air, thin, fragile. Judge Monroe raised one eyebrow, her gaze slicing deeper. Passengers leaned forward, breathless, waiting for her next words. Every second stretched, slow, suffocating, the kind of silence that could shatter. With a single sentence, then, her lips curved into the faintest trace of a smile. But her eyes did not soften. Her eyes burned with quiet, fire. The officers lowered their salute and turned sharply, their boots echoing as they faced the stunned crew. The captain's voice quivered as he finally spoke. "Judge Monroe! Please, allow us to escort you to your seat." The passengers erupted, some in applause, others in hushed whispers, others in stunned disbelief. But beneath the surface of relief, tension still lingered. because no one knew what Judge Monroe would say next, and no one knew if the flight would take off at all. Judge Monroe's gaze swept the cabin, slow, deliberate. Passengers held their breath. The faint hum of the air conditioning filled the silence, like distant thunder. She did not move immediately. Her hand rested lightly on her boarding pass. Her eyes locked on the flight attendant, who was still pale, trembling. "You will treat every passenger with respect," Judge Monroe said, her voice calm but with steel underneath. The attendant swallowed, nodding rapidly, unable to meet her eyes. The officers shifted behind her, standing tall, unwavering. A bead of sweat rolled down the captain's temple. The woman in the aisle, whose seat had been taken, watched silently, heart pounding, Judge Monroe's lips pressed together. Then she turned, slowly, commandingly. Her steps echoed against the floor as she approached 2A. Passengers leaned forward instinctively, some whispering, some silent. She slid into the seat, smooth, unflinching. The attendant stepped back, defeated, as if the air itself had pushed her away. Judge Monroe's eyes scanned the cabin once more. A small, tense smile tugged at her lips. Then she placed her briefcase on the empty seat beside her. The plane's engines roared to life. Yet a shiver ran through the cabin, unspoken, but undeniable. No one spoke for a long moment. Every eye lingered on her, and in that silence, everyone felt it. This was not just a seat reclaimed, this was a warning. A quiet, unstoppable force had arrived at 30,000 feet, and the flight would never feel ordinary again. The plane rumbled softly, engines humming a steady rhythm. Judge Monroe sat upright, calm, composed. Her eyes scanned the cabin one last time. Passengers relaxed slightly, though the tension still lingered like smoke in the air. The captain cleared his throat. Voice steadier now. "Flight attendants, please proceed as usual." The crew nodded, careful, respectful. Judge Monroe allowed herself a small, almost imperceptible sigh. Her hands folded neatly on her lap. The sunlight glinted off the metal tray table, warm against her skin. A child laughed softly somewhere near the back. The ordinary world returned, but it felt different. Passengers glanced at one another, sharing quiet, relieved smiles. She looked out the window at the clouds rolling beneath. Endless and white, a sense of quiet triumph filled the cabin. Not loud, not boastful, just calm authority, undeniable and absolute. The plane taxied, then lifted smoothly into the sky. And for the first time that day, the cabin breathed freely. Judge Monroe's eyes remained steady, thoughtful. Her presence had shifted something invisible but permanent, and in that suspended, serene moment, the passengers understood. Some battles do not need noise to be won. Some victories are written quietly. In courage and resolve, the plane climbed higher, leaving behind tension and doubt, and the world below carried on, unaware of the storm that had passed at 30,000 feet. Judge Monroe closed her eyes, letting the hum of the engines settle into her bones. Justice, she knew, sometimes arrives quietly, and leaves a mark that cannot be erased. The cabin lights dimmed gently. The flight continued, calm, ordinary once more. Yet something had changed, and everyone aboard would remember it.